But I still think that I had a pretty great childhood. And it is problematic when, on the other side, I can also then say, but I had to learn how to find my voice. I had to learn how to speak. I had to learn what I wanted to speak about. Silence is heavy. Sometimes what we don't say does a lot more damage to us than what it is that we do. I think this week we're going to try and focus on all of the shit we don't say. And I think I'm going to try and focus on unspoken emotions, so the things we bottle up, and how they manifest physically, mentally, socially. I'm worried about that, eh? I'm worried about the fact that in what I've experienced, I think I've always blamed my emotions for why I'm quiet. I don't need you to feel what I'm feeling in order for you to be important to me, for you to be valuable, for you to be able to make my day, for you to be able to crush my day. I shouldn't need that. But I think one of the reasons that I've learned to blame my emotions, or that I choose to blame my emotions, maybe we can say it like that, is because it's easier for me to blame something that doesn't require me to confront anybody. Because it's easier for me not to have to anticipate being misunderstood. And that might not even be because of the next person, it just might be because of the things I'm ineffective at articulating. I can't expect someone else to get better at something if I'm not willing to learn how to do that thing. So if the problem is communicating, because I'm not speaking, so it's a communication issue, why do I blame someone else? Why do I choose to blame someone else? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about, right? But for now, we need to start with our new little segment, which is the unsolicited advice corner. We're going to work with that for now. The UAC. I have no idea, right? So, this week's little question is, what does more than current look like? And are you allowed to be the same person, or would pieces of you have to change? More. Hmm. More time to be able to take the time to enjoy life. More peace to not taint great moments with poison. More intention to fight the wrong, to help those that are feeling hopeless. More no's to understand that rejection is something you can do. They don't mean to take your hope away. To some, that's their learned default. The pieces of me the pieces of me that can stay, the pieces of me that I allow others to leave behind, needs some spring cleaning, sorting, if you will. Then maybe, just maybe, you won't need more. Maybe you have the perfect amount of what you need right now instead of comparing it to a yesterday or tomorrow that doesn't exist. I love that. I think this unsolicited advice corner is actually me just doing a little monologue by myself, sharing a piece of what it is that's going on in my head. And I mean, that doesn't particularly make complete sense. But that's it. It's done. Because it was supposed to be called the gripe for the week. After I share the gripe, in my head, I want to leave it alone. So if you have any gripes yourself or any unsolicited advice that you'd like to give, talk about, or even just to answer the question, do it in the comments. Let me know. And we shall see where we go. Okay, so back to what it is that we're talking about, right? So the pressure cooker. The pressure cooker of our lives. It is the constant suppressing, repressing, removal, denial, dismissal of our own emotional state, right? Now, I am the last born in my family. One of the things that I'm learning I quite like the sound of is I potentially like being the older little brother. I like taking on a little bit more responsibility. I like pretending like I can change the world. And that might not always necessarily be realistic or possible. But within that being said, there are also times when I am meant to then bite my tongue, when I am then meant to be quiet, when I am meant to silence myself. But what if I do those things or I interpret those moments incorrectly and then I end up not speaking? You end up not speaking because I don't think I'm a special person. I think I'm just a normal person. And because that's the case, I believe that anything that I learn, you can learn. Anything that you learn, I can learn, which might not necessarily be true because there's limitations and stuff like that. I get that. But I just mean it from a place of it's about what you set your mind to, right? So if the goal is for us to not silence ourselves when we don't want to or we don't need to, then maybe the first question is when don't we want to, right? So we need to understand how it is that we distort our own reality, our own worlds, our own lives, because of the fact that we have all of these lessons that other people have taught us. And we need to take those things away in order to figure out who's left, what's left, and who that person is. So sometimes I've noticed a lot of people view silent as strong. I don't think personally I have realized that. I think I've always I've always anticipated or expected silence to be withdrawal, removal, disappearance, running away, cowardice. It's a completely different thing to me. But it might be because of the fact that I had to fight my way out of silence as opposed to potentially having to learn how to be quiet because I'm guessing that those two people will learn two very different lessons. So what if it's just a survival skill? What if it's just survival? But you avoiding triggers, you avoiding confrontation, you avoiding the truth, fundamentally your truth, what it is that you feeling, what it is that you dealing with. And yes, there will probably be some kind of blowback when you tell the truth. I mean, that's to be expected, is it not? But that's also the goal. I think I think we get confused where we assume that silence shows how important a relationship is. And I mean, if you are a part of the same generation that I am, growing up as a kid, we were very quiet. You weren't allowed to talk in adult spaces. You weren't supposed to do this. There were more rules about what you couldn't do than things that you could. But I still think that I had a pretty great childhood. And it is problematic when, on the other side, I can also then say, but I had to learn how to find my voice. I had to learn how to speak. I had to learn what I wanted to speak about. And even that, most times people will tell me that I don't shut up because I love getting into conversations, even if they are fights, even if they are head knocking conversations. Because in my head, what else is there? It's the one thing that I think more people should do, you know? So, with regards to the build up, because of this distortion of reality, of our own individual reality, with that distortion, there tends to be a build up that happens. And within that build up, if it is a survival skill, it is probably because you are trying to survive, right? But to what end? Because eventually you're going to have resent that's going to build. And within that resent, there's probably going to be distance, there's probably going to be disconnection, there's going to be more than one thing that tends to happen, especially because, oh, I hope you don't have a similar thing like this to me, but I tend to keep score. I tend to pay attention too much, as weird as that may sound. So having your unspoken struggle can get trapped in your body. Your body will remember it because your body also keeps score. And whether it is based on actions committed, actions experienced, whether it is because of effort spent, effort received, it doesn't matter. You are going to remember certain feelings, and if you are having more positive experiences and more negative experiences, those are the things that's going to accumulate. And based on which of those two things, according to you, accumulates, you are going to make a new decision, and that's going to dictate a new path in life. Unfortunately, I just think that's the way most decisions tend to work out. But I realized that I tend to avoid saying what it is that I'm feeling, because if I say what I really felt, then if I hurt your feelings, but I'm not saying it to hurt your feelings, I just have that thought. And you potentially might not meet it with curiosity because I sound or look or come across or sound like or feel like a different experience in your life. And I need to be able to understand and respect and consider that, but in turn, I should expect that from you. It's too much. So it's easier to be quiet. It's easier to soften yourself. But that shrinkage is not healthy. You don't trust, you lose trust for yourself. And everything's going to come back to losing trust for yourself, which is something that we don't want to do. The difficult part with biting your tongue tends to be that you get used to the pain in your mouth without understanding that nobody else outside of you understands that that pain that you are experiencing is because of the fact that you do not feel comfortable, safe, open, secure, whatever word, phrase, or manner that we want to use something. Use to put it there. You put it there, the one that works best for you. You don't want to feel that thing, or you don't feel it in that space, and therefore it is the justification as to why you aren't doing something. But what if you just ask yourself often enough, I guess, as often as you do it would maybe be the exercise, but how often do you swallow your emotions? When the conversation gets to the point of, okay, this is the thing I want to say, and then seeing the facial expression on whoever you talk into his face, and that shutting you down, how often does that happen? Does it always happen with the same person? Does it happen with multiple different people? Does it happen on particular types of conversation? Are you triggered or triggering other people based on the context or topic of conversation? The whole never talk about religion, politics, and something else. It's now not in my head. So that's the questions that I would ask, and there's no real answer. It's just for you. So how do you how do you decide whether your silence is strength? How do you know when you're being silent for strength and not for avoidance, not to run away, not to withdraw? Why do you need that? And you once you have that answer, it's your answer. It will change eventually or it won't change eventually, and that's also okay. But the answer is for you, it's not for anybody else. But if silence is strength and it's breaking you, is it not weak to be strong then? Is the dangerous thing not silence? If it's breaking you, if you are feeling alone because of your silence, because you're not about reaching out, you're not about putting yourself out there, you're not about caring, you're not about telling the truth, you're not about sharing yourself with the world. Cool, I get that. I'm fairly particular about how it is that I spend my time, who it is that I spend my time with, why it is that I spend my time with those people. I get that. But I've also had to do a little bit of a purge this year, and it's pushed me into back to family space. And I'm meeting people I've known my whole life, and I'm looking at them a little bit differently. I'm paying attention to them from a different place. And that's something that you could do if you wanted to. And I think that's the important part, that if you wanted to. Um, but try it. Try it. Just let's just say for this week, if you are willing to do the exercise of where you're gonna pay attention to, oh, this is what I done. This is when I kept quiet. This is when I didn't want to keep quiet. Let's just try and release one thing. Let's try and say one out of all of those things and those times that we don't do it. Let's just try and say it one time. And you can make it easy. It doesn't even have to be to the person. It's for you. Walk into a corner and say the thing out loud and see if the world ends. Because maybe sometimes that's what we're afraid of. We worry that the world might end if we tell the truth and someone knows what it is that we're really thinking. But the world deserves to know what your truth is, man. I think it also matters. It's really important. It's really important to have that kind of care, to have that kind of affection from the world. But it won't know to give it to you if you don't ask for it. And I think maybe you need to pay attention to that this week. Okay, song recs for this week. Ooh, also wait, before I do song recommendations, I have to do an anime recommendation. What's it called? Gachia Kuta. You know, if you are someone that likes a little bit of violence and a little bit of craziness, don't know if you like me, but that's exactly how what I enjoy in a lot of my animes. And oh, man, what a interesting turn of events in the anime that is dropping this year. There are a couple of other good ones, but this is gonna be my favorite for now. Um, there's actually a few others. I need to start working more anime recommendations, but I will do a little small side video for these recommendations because wow, 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 the anime that is out right now, I'm thoroughly enjoying. I also love fight scenes, and Gachi Gute gets there. It gets to the point. But yeah, back to song lyrics. So for this week, we're gonna start off with "Take Time for Myself" by Chris Patrick, and then we are going to do "New Beginning" by Devin Morrison and Amber Navran. Our pick number 3 for this week is "Unaware" by Keep Vibes Near. Such good music by Keep Vibes Near. Definitely, if you like the track that I'm recommending, go and check out the other stuff. Really, really, really nice. Ooh. So this next track is a Christian rap track by Alex Jean called "Stronger Than Ever." It sounds a lot more aggressive than what it is, but it is such a vibe. It is something that I think more people need to have on their playlist because wow, what a song. And the last one is going to be Lonely Road by Russ. Okay, so those are our music recs for this week. They will be in the playlist. The link will be in the description if it is something that you do want to add. I try and keep the recommendations like on for what it is that the episode's about, but it doesn't always happen because music is just something that I find, and sometimes I get different stuff and I jump all over the place. But yeah, thank you for sitting with me in today's chaos. If the episode resonated, drop a comment, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you're struggling, listen to our playlist while you in your silence. You know, let's maybe break your silence and change it and show you that you don't need to be. But yeah, stay cool, stay kind, stay connected. Keegan out.